Thank you. Good morning, certified doers. What a great lesson it is to have you guys this morning. I'm Jackie Glass, mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and a laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 89th district, earning my way to the 80th to the 93rd. What I do want to do is we got two really big things today. One, I'm going to overview the town hall and the stuff with the brewery and everything, and then two, we want to talk about schools, right? The less sexy thing that gets attention. Okay. I hope you're all well. If you haven't already, consider coming to summer school. Come to summer school. Their virtual summer school is going to be happening as well. If you want to learn the whole legislative process or just want to know the next steps and how you can be a good advocate for your thing in your place, then that is the place to be. But I do want to roll. I do want to roll today and say a couple things so that I can get to something that happened on Monday outside of my outside of my post. Okay, so for situational awareness, Monday I made a post specifically about just the sentiments, the culture of a particular business that's coming into town. I think it is certainly uh, important to recognize when the community, because those of you guys in the community reached out and were getting at it, right? Like there is a level of import that when I receive information, that I do something with that information, and that's very valid. Because I was in the press release with the governor welcoming the business here, it was important that I feel like I at least addressed where my sentiments were and where they didn't lie. Since then, right, I've had all the things people say, like what in the world does a state delegate have getting involved with local issues? What in the mess is this? And to an extent, I'll say there is a point, but there's always an intersection, you guys, between state and local policy. There's always, and this moment right here was one of those intersections. Because of how a city or locality conducts themselves, that affects sometimes how we are able to operate in Richmond. So for example, with the casino situation, we had an appropriations chair that just was not hearing any of our budget requests for our flood mitigation warning for our plan, and wasn't even interested in assisting us for funding that makes it for our seawall project, and that makes it due to a failure of us moving forward on something, and that had to do with business. But I'll say, to sort of put a cap on this and to really help understand, there is dialogue that needs to happen. As I said, the town hall, and thank you all who came out last night, that you can be angry about a business moving here that you find objectionable. That's perfectly well within every American's rights to have dissent. But I want to redirect that anger, right? I got some comments like, you need to be worried about crime and you need to be, but I'm going to tell you something. This issue particularly, people love the hot button things. They do. What we could be angry with, right? Instead of just them being here, is that we can put our efforts in saying like, you know what, we just don't want our city to use tax dollars to recruit somebody who may be fighting, who may be not respecting the existence of all human beings, or just inclusivity, period, like creating that culture. What I want us to really be angry about, right? And I'm being really, really, really sincere, is that and also asking the questions about safety. I had a question last night that I thought really put an exclamation mark on why this is important, why saying, this kind of culture creates this, right? It's about feeling safe. And I think that's what we all want. And I know that safety is relative, right? That word safety is relative. Good morning, Mr. Little. Good morning, Miss Charlene. So good to see you yesterday. Thank you guys. Good morning over here. See Nick and Katie and Adele. Good morning, everybody. Sorry if I don't say all your names. Good morning. But what I said is, we have to look at how we use our money, how we spend our money with people that we bring into the area, because that's an incentive that our locality has. That's an incentive that our state has. Now, we know that the state executive level is they're on a different mind frame than we are as far as value systems. That is how this dueling, which I don't think it's a bipartisan country. I think we're more like a quad trust. There's so many different subsets of beliefs, and on this, we live on this spectrum. But I want us to not only advocate when planning commission comes, when council comes, you have to know which tree to bark up and know who is responsible for what. There's absolutely nothing I can do other than what I've done. Um, but what I want us to be angry about too, in the same vein that we take this with the existence of people being ourselves, I want you all to really hold in our hands what we have in our city and how me as a state legislator can be helpful and how you as an everyday resident can be helpful. Is that we right now have half a dozen elementary schools with more than a quarter of their teaching positions vacant. Right? I want to say that. We have half a dozen schools with a quarter of their teachers' positions being vacant. We should really be angry about this too. And I know certain issues are more sexy than others, but this is something that, as I said last night with the meeting, I was like, yes, there's safety, there are all these things. What makes me angry is that there's a school right up the street from me as well, Lindenwood Elementary, that has a 43% teacher vacancy rate. Tidewater Park Elementary has a 100% vacancy rate at the fourth grade level for teachers, right? That means everybody there is a long-term sub. I'm hoping that this energy that we have about the things and the cross-section of things that we all, as last night I told you all, we pick our things. What should we be doing to advocate for change at the state and local level from us as electeds? And I will always do my best. Now, I tie these two things together of holding in our hands safety and making sure that the people that choose to create their livelihoods here and that our neighbors and are in our communities are not people that make us feel unsafe. I want to thank Auntie Advocate. And if you're on Instagram, she's at Auntie Advocate 1. If you're over here, it's Auntie Advocate, for even saying like we have these issues and we see this room where people come together because it's their thing, but we can't expect everybody to join in on our thing. The beauty is that we get better, at least I get better as a local or as a state politician with my job when I have many people sort of not giving me the business, but giving me their perspective to do better at each of those things. Auntie Advocate said, wow, I think she was really amazed at how full the room was. And she's like, gun violence is a thing that is really affecting communities. And I just want other kinds of people to show up. And I think that is true for most of our issues, right? You don't want it just to be you don't want it just to be people that look like you, that go to the same, spaces and places. You want everybody that cares or everybody that says they care to show up in some way. And that's also a spectrum of how we show up. So just as I'm not a member of the LGBTQI plus community, I will still show up. And she's like, just as that a lot of this violence are happening in Black communities, I would love for other people outside of Black folks to show up. Same thing with the schools. If your kid, your kid may not go to Lindenwood or Tidewater Park or Southside STEM Academy, but if you care about schools, I want you to show up. Find your way. Because school's going to start back. Let me do this PSA for schooling too, is that we voted on a new calendar and school will start back on August 28th. That's sooner than we're used to. That's much sooner than we used to. What happened this Monday outside of the brewery, and we'll talk about this about K-12 funding, the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission released a report on Virginia's K-12 funding formula. Now, if you're not familiar with the JLARC, Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission, this is important, especially if you're a doer who likes data and a doer who likes integrity, rigor, objectivity, and nonpartisan work. The JLARC, as it's called, conducts program evaluation, policy analysis, and oversight of state agencies on behalf of the General Assembly, and that's authorized through code. They've done everything from I'm going to try to see if I can pull up some reports. Everything from behavioral health studies to pandemic K-12 to science and technologies to affordable housing to like they look at our stuff and they break it down. And I'm sure you doers on there can find something. Good to see you, James. You can find something on the JLARC website that like breaks it down. Even that's how we found out that there's a vacancy. There's over 200,000 we have a housing gap of over 200,000 homes in the Commonwealth. So like really taking a look at that. So anyway, they took a look. These folks went and they took a look at the funding formula, how we fund in the Commonwealth, how we give money in the Commonwealth, and it focused on the actual cost of education by these things we call the standard of quality, like these standards that we've made. They said this is what a quality education looks like. So what this report found, right? Something to be mad about. It found that we, to no surprise, are underfunding our public schools, right? To no surprise, especially in comparison to all these other states. The main focus is that we allocate about almost $2,000. It's like $1,900 less per student than the national average, or even after accounting for like regional differences in labor costs. So even like putting the bandwidth where it's like, all right, if we made as much money as these people, are we funding right? We short. As I just mentioned before, a school with 100%, for fourth grade teachers at Tidewater Gardens, Lindenwood, the 43% teacher vacancy. Our schools are struggling. Right? The staffing shortages, loss of time being put in, mental health crisis, critically low state funding. And those are things I have control over, right? Or can advocate for, just like you. What I know is that it is really essential if we're going to change some of these outcomes, right? If we're going to be good stewards to communities. Like, this is a thing that I want you guys to be aware of, because it is directly connected to, good morning, Carla. It is directly connected to what your community operates like, right? How are our next iteration of voting citizens getting their education now? Then how is that going to affect who they are later? So we've got a $3.6 billion in surplus right now at the state level. I don't know if y'all know that we got money, right? Existing surplus we can find supplement budget money for K-12 education. This is why this audit review is important, because it's not coming from a place of feeling, it's coming from a place of fact. What is the actual fact about our funding? And I hear y'all, these schools, right? Am I wrong? I hear it in these streets. These schools. I even thought about becoming a substitute teacher. I was like, maybe that's what I need to do. But again, that still would mean there's a vacancy because I'm a sub. So again, we have a $3.6 billion. We have $3.6 billion in surplus. So not only does that matter for you if you care about schools, that matters if you care about any daggum thing in this Commonwealth. There's money. So the goal here is that, there are some critical needs for education for a working Virginians and families, those who use our public schools. But I'm just going to tell you, this is why November is important. There is the people that sit on the other side of the aisle, the Republicans, just making it frank. They really would rather, this is why we don't have an amended budget right now. And I can't say it any other way, would really rather spend that surplus on corporations. That is directly tied to the conversation we just had about state funding going to businesses that will continue to provoke divisiveness, right? Continue to provoke divisiveness in our communities across the Commonwealth. We have to meet this moment. Just as we're meeting the moment locally on the state level, we have to meet this moment to invest. Because the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter whether you're an educator, a parent, a student, or a member in a community where there are educators, students, and parents. There is an unprecedented amount of challenges that have been going on the past couple of years. Can we agree on that, y'all? Can we agree on that? From pandemic to gun violence to mental health crisis, like children and families in Norfolk Public Schools, I've seen the incredible strain that is on our parents and educators, coupled with all the other BS that's happening around. Now, this study, again, and I will put, let me see if I can put, I don't have access here, but let me give you guys the website. It is JLARC, JLARC. That stands for Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission. Make sure I'm getting this right. It is jlarc.virginia.gov. And remember, if you're interested in juvenile justice, if you're interested in transportation, just on state spending, this is a great site just to look at that objective review. Remember what I said, if you didn't hear earlier, JLARC, it analyzes programs, policy, and oversight of state agencies. That's in our code. And their principles are integrity, rigor, objectivity, and nonpartisanship. So if we really want to get to the nitty gritty, JLARC is what informs our decision making. Do you know that people can put in? You can be like, hey, I would love if the General Assembly would have the JLARC study this particular thing. You can work with the legislator to get us to try to put in a study to study a particular thing in the Commonwealth. So that's a superpower that you also have. Speaking of legislation, before I move on, right now, this is July, August, and September. These are the best times you all to be reaching out to your state legislators on things that you want to see for next General Assembly, which is January. Now, I've got to make it past November and get elected. If you're looking to help us out in doing that, please reach out to our office. Please go to delegatejackieglass.com because we got stuff to do, doers. We got things to do. However, in that same vein is that this is the optimal time. We're trying to build our legislative agendas, trying to build things out to make sure that we are prepared for January. When January comes, there is probably about 5 days that we have once we get up there to put in new bills or try to get things done. Other than that, game's over. It's prime time, right? It's time to get to it. It's the time to get to work. That's that, and or go to summer school if you need some help there. But that this study that the JLARC did makes it clear that that too many folks, parents, educators, students, and again, I put community members in there because you all are directly having to deal with this. That we are woefully underfunding our schools, and there's a price that we're gonna pay. The price we don't pay now is a price we will pay later. To be quite honest, and let me look. I got some comments here. Great to see you. It pains me. James on Facebook actually says, it pains me to hear about the funding situation. Truly, it does. It truly, I'm with you, James. Alexander Thompson said, we have too few colleges and universities set up to provide career switcher program for people that want to be teachers. Yes. At one point, the military had a program called Troops to Teachers, and in Troops to Teachers, they actually stopped funding it maybe in 2021 or something, and immediately brought it back. But there are very few. It's tough, right? But also the demand. We have created an environment politically where, ask some of these young people if they want to be educators nowadays, right? The answer is not typically yes, because of what we've done to both police officers and what we've done to educators is we've asked them to be the first responders to conflict mitigation while underpaying them and heavily politicizing them, right? That is what our country has done to these folks. Alexander also says we have 2 in Hampton Roads, but lacking creative ways to attract educators. Yep, really. Do people want to work in our spaces? That's real. Charlene said Norfolk needs a new HR department to recruit there. It sounds like Alexander and Charlene, y'all are saying the same thing. Let me see if we have any comments on Instagram here. Thank you for joining us on LinkedIn, Alexander, and thank you, Miss Charlene, for your comments as always. Nope, none there. But yeah, it is about a recruitment. How do you walk? How do you bring a horse to water? How do we tell someone we're not going to pay you enough? You got to have the passion. Most folks stayed in the profession because there was a level of passion there for the work. And what they have been seeing over the past several years especially in the Commonwealth. Our governor did a very heavy push of really being divisive amongst parents and educators. Like the pandemic emboldened some of those things, not to allow people to be the truest form of themselves. So that how do we get them back into there? That's tough. So I will put it in here now that if you have a community event or you have something going on and you want us to share it, please drop it in the comments by 7:25 because I will shout your event out or the thing that you have going on, whatever that is. Just drop it in the comments. We'll make sure that we get it put out on the morning due. Okay. But that's what I wanted to put there is this hold in our hands what is happening in our city, how it translates, what happens to our state. The next steps with this is that the JLARC actually recommended an array of reforms for the state funding formula, which would increase the funding by about $1 billion in the short term, and then $2.5 billion in the long term over the coming decade, which as inflation grows. God. It's important to recommend that that the recommendations are not intended to be implemented at all the same time. Like when they make recommendation, it's over time. So we're trying to slowly but surely get this in there, but the budget is being held up and that's real. Good morning. Sean Terrasting. I thought I was going to say interesting. Sean is interesting. Good morning. That the budget is being held up. So I just was speaking to a constituent the other day that said, hey, I wanted to get this job at this particular school. The school got hired, but then they said because they haven't gotten the funding from the state, because we haven't completed our amended budget, they couldn't hire them. And that's true. So we're going to start to see the effects of not finalizing the budget that's being held up by the folks in control of the executive branch and in control of the House. And because we have different values, right? Speaking of a value about how we have to really be pro-education and we have to get people that are actually pro-education candidates to be in the House to flip to the majority so that we can get these things done. I do not believe that this is the time where we should be giving corporations handouts, or I firmly believe that we should really take a look at the study and start funding our schools. So that is, y'all heard me, $1,900 less than the national average, even after we balance things out about cost of living. Put this in your mind. We have at the state level, I think everybody needs to hear this. We have $3.6 billion in surplus. Okay. Y'all hear that? I'll say it one more time. We have $3.6 billion in surplus. We are underfunding our students by $1,900. So ask yourself who you want that money to go to. That directly again leads to November. I need us to get to work. Okay. Doers, find your thing. If this is not your thing, find it. Hold on to it. Again, if you have any community events or anything going on, please don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. I'm actually going to check the calendar here to make sure that I personally am not missing anything. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. This is the most opportune time to do that as well. This Saturday, we have virtual summer school. I'm going to say that again. If you don't know Summer School for Certified Doers, Summer School for Certified Doers is going to get you in the know. You can sign up on Eventbrite. You can sign up on our website, or you can just, show up. Well, the virtual one, you actually have to sign up to join. And there are links on Eventbrite, Certified Summer School for Certified Doers on the website. I'm trying to think of anything else that we have coming up. I am looking for Lady Vets. We have an event coming up on the 27th. So if you're a Lady Vet and you want to provide feedback about how the Commonwealth can do better by you, or some women veterans, drop them in my comments, or send us a DM or a message. Let us know because we want to invite them to an event we're having on the 27th. That sound good? Can we do that? No questions, comments, concerns? Good morning, Mr. Little. I don't think I said that. Okay. Yep. Here we go. So we got some events, y'all. You ready? Here we go. James says ranked choice voting meet and greet is going to be at Reaver Breach Brewing on 26th. That's Wednesday, this next Wednesday coming up at 6 p.m. So ranked choice voting meet and greet at Reaver Breach. Why am I saying Breach? Reaver Beach. Get me together. Brewing on the 26th. On 26th Street on Wednesday. Wednesday is let me look and see, make sure I get the right date. Next Wednesday is the 19th. Okay. On 26th. On the 19th. The place is on 16th. The time is on the 19th. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. So for any of you all that are interested in ranked choice voting, that's an opportunity next week on the 19th. Thank you. James, if there's a website, is there a website where this can be found, or is this just can you let me know, because if we can walk everybody to that particular resource? As he gets that information to me, or if you guys have any other events, I'll say this, is that we are looking people to walk their communities, like actually go in and walk their communities. We want to 100% be able to have touch points. We're trying to build community because that helps us do our job better. So if you're interested in being one of our like neighborhood captains or a part of the network that goes into these neighborhoods and spread the good joy about November, we got to do some situational awareness about upcoming elections, then I'm here for it. Okay. I need you. Okay. We need you. All right, Tabitha, thank you for joining. I'm looking. All right, so certified doers, thank you for getting up. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for watching the replay. Remember that we believe in the ABCs of governance, accountability, boldness, and coalition building. And sometimes we got to go ABCD, above and beyond the call of duty. So if above and beyond the call of duty is what you got to do today, then do it. All right. Lastly, James, just for those of you guys who heard the event, I put out that it's on Meetup. If you go to Meetup, it'll be the Hampton Roads Ranked Choice Voting Action Group. Go to meetup.com, and you'll be able to find details. Thank you so much. All right, doers, like this is it. I hope that you are able to enjoy the remainder of your week, that you find you spark joy. That by the end of this month, you doers who are at the town hall, get it done, right? We got an action item before the end of the month, and that we're able to make it a great day. All right. Till next time, I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, to be the representative for the 93rd. Grateful for you all, and I hope you're able to make it a great week. Take care.